In this video, we're going to show you how to install the upper strut mount on your Dodge Charger located at the top of your strut. Using a 22mm socket, let's loosen and remove our lug nuts. Remove the wheel and set it aside. Use our plastic trim tool and come underneath here and just pop off the cover here that exposes the 3 nuts for the top portion of our front strut. On the top here, let's go ahead and loosen the 13mm nuts. As we do that, you're going to see the strut gently and slowly lower. Now we can remove these here and set these aside. Let's move back into the wheel well. On our particular vehicle, we're going to use a 21mm socket to loosen and remove our sway bar end link nut. Remove that sway bar end link, set that off to the side. For the strut bolt, we're going to use an 18mm. You can hold that strut and work that bolt out like so. Set that aside. On the upper control arm here to the knuckle, I want to loosen and remove this nut here. It's an 18mm. When you do this here, you need to have a securing strap ready to go. You want to go ahead and make sure that this knuckle does not swing too far out, pulling on our brake flex hoses. Then you can normally use a hammer and strike the knuckle to release the ball joint here. Good, use a securing strap. Find an appropriate spot for your hook to anchor. Now once this is pulled apart, we should be able to manipulate our strut out of the way. Now we have our strut set up and our compressor tool. Always want to take precautions when using something like this here. Now we're compressing the spring, so we can go ahead and loosen and remove our upper strut nut here. Now what I like to do is I like to use a crayon. And I like to mark the position of my strut where it is with the spring all the way up into the upper bearing plate. That way there, no matter what part I remove, I can go ahead and line things right back up again. Now we can see that the strut itself is wobbly here, so we know that the spring tension is released. We're now going to go ahead and loosen that nut. Hold on to that strut while you're doing that. Go ahead and slide that strut out. You want to replace the upper bearing plate. I like to match that up as pretty close as possible. So I'm lining up these studs here with these two. Go ahead and pull that off. Inside, there is a bump stop, so we're going to swap that over. I'm going to go ahead and place the upper bearing cap in place. You want to make sure that there's a little bump stop right here. This is the stopper for the tail of the coil spring. So when setting that on, you want to make sure that that tail is up against that. Push that down. You can see that our mark here is pretty accurate. Take your bump stop, you're going to slide it into the upper bearing plate. Lower that down. Now it just tightens up. Make sure that the tail of the spring is in the bump stop. Make sure everything else lines up here. We'll snug that down. With that upper nut snug, we can now release the tension on our coil spring. Now, if you have the ability to do so, you want to go ahead and torque down this nut here to 74 foot-pounds. We used our impact gun and we tightened that down pretty tight. We now go ahead and remove this from our tool. Go ahead and feed our strut down in a position. I might have to wiggle the strut around a little bit to get it beyond our strap. Feed our strut up into the body. Basically, you just need to manipulate this around to get it up in and around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our strut and we're going to lift this up into place. Hold it with one hand, and with the other hand, reach up and over the fender and install the nuts on the top. Once you capture one, you can go ahead and let go of it. Okay, we have all three of the nuts started on the top. Now that we have the three nuts installed on the top, we can now install the bolt on the bottom. As we come down to the base of our strut here, it's not lining up quite with the lower control arm. It just kind of twisted off a little bit. So sometimes what you can do is you can put a screwdriver into the two holes here and you can just give it a twist. Okay, at this point here, we should be able to get this lined up. Raise up our knuckle. There we go. Let's go ahead and install the nut. Now that we have our lower bolt in and the nut installed, let's go up top and torque the upper strut nuts. Let's snug down the nuts here first. Let's go ahead and torque these down to 20 foot-pounds. Now that you have the three nuts installed, you want to go ahead and install our cover. Make sure you pay attention that these two here are closer than the front one. So it just needs to match up with the triangular pattern on your strut here. You can pull our upper control arm down onto that knuckle. Get that nut started. We'll go ahead and snug this down. Let's torque our upper nut here to 35 foot-pounds. And then we're going to finish up by going an additional 90 degrees, which is a quarter turn. Okay, let's do that quarter turn. We can remove our securing strap. Now we can install our sway bar end link. Feed that through, install the nut. We can go ahead and secure that. Torque down the upper end link nut to 100 foot-pounds. Now before we tighten and torque the lower strut bolt here, we need to compress our suspension into a neutral ride height. And you can do this using your regular floor jack. We're going to use our pole jack. And what we're going to do is raise up our suspension till the vehicle just starts to come off of our lift. And we're right there. So we're going to hold our nut on one side, and then we'll tighten down our bolt here. Now the nut is a 21 millimeter, the bolt is the 18. We'll tighten that down. And let's go ahead and torque down our lower clevis fork bolt to the lower control arm to 125 foot-pounds. With that torqued, we can go ahead and lower our jack stand or pole jack. Go ahead and grab your wheel, line that up, set it into place. We want to go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started by hand, and then we'll snug them down. Go ahead and torque your lug nuts down to 130 foot-pounds. I'm going to do this in a crisscross pattern. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.